Everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Five Door Media Podcast. We are in season six, where we are tackling one of the hardest and most important parts of growing a cleaning company: hiring and recruiting. From attracting the right people to building culture to keeping top talent, this season is all about solving the people puzzle in the cleaning industry. Today's guest has lived this story and then turned into a movement. Cheryl Hajjar is the founder of Sisters Who Scale, a coaching platform that helps cleaning business owners step out of burnout into business models that scale with freedom and intention. Cheryl started her journey as a solo cleaner and a single mom, burned out, overwhelmed, and desperate for a better way. In just 3 years, she transformed her company, Made Bright Cleaning, from $0 to over $850,000 while cutting her weekly hours down to just 15 to 20 hours a week. Love that. Now she helps others do the same with a signature drop the mop and scale system that blends recruiting strategy, scales mastery, operational systems, and unshakable mindset. Cheryl's coaching is equal parts tough love and transformation. She's helped hundreds of cleaning business owners break free of the chaos and build the kind of companies that deliver both profit and peace. Today, we're diving into what it really takes to hire well, build a team you can trust, and create a culture that scales with you, not one that drains you. Cheryl, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me, Drew.
So happy to have you here. This has been a really great season so far. Some really great conversations from people in the cleaning industry, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's set the scene. Let's talk about, in your mind, the state of recruiting in the cleaning industry. You know, you work with cleaning business owners every single day. You are a cleaning business owner as well.
Mhm.
What's the number one hiring or recruiting struggle you see holding back cleaning business owners right now?
Well, I can speak from literally from experience, but I see this all the time. The biggest thing I think is owners go to hire too late, right?
Mm,
They hire out of desperation. Right? And so what they do is they think, "Oh, I have to fill a schedule. I need a body." So they start interviewing and they hire the first person that walks through the door. They don't have any, pre-onboarding, any qualifications. If they can show up, if they can get to work, they'll hire them. And so what they miss is trying to hire for personality. So when we
mm.
hire, it took me a while to figure out. When we hire, I look at the person that I'm interviewing and I say, will this person get along with my current team? Right? Because it's a lot. You don't want to bring too many different personalities in the mix because then you won't be able to have them work together. Right. And
Mm.
we do a mix of teams of two. We do solo. We find that sometimes people like to solo, but they don't want to solo 100% of the time because they get lonely. So they like to be on a team of two. So that's what I have found. I can remember one year that we we had 27 people come through our door that we hired and quit. And I was like, this is insane. I have to fix this. That
Mm.
pre-COVID, that was, a little while back. But that's the biggest thing. They don't know how to hire, they don't know what to look for, and then they just hire anyone that's willing to work.
And then they go from desperation mode, is basically what that is. Never want to
Desperation.
be in play in desperation.
And it's hard because they say, well, what do I do? Do I hire first? Do I go get more clients? And I tell everyone it's sort of like a seesaw. You have to do both at the same time. You have to
Yeah.
constantly be filling the well with new business and you have to constantly be looking for, okay, when is my next hire? And that's really difficult for people to figure out.
Yeah, and it
Yeah,
it kind of is like a chicken before the egg thing, right?
totally.
Yeah,
100%.
and I mean, this is something I've learned as a business owner, not a cleaning business owner, but sometimes it really is it's a little scary to be a little overstaffed, but it's so much better in the long run to be a little overstaffed rather than a little understaffed. And but that's a scary thing to do.
Well, you can lose money and then owners get thrown back in the field. And that's where like they get burned out. So if they're trying to run a team, then they're still cleaning, then they're trying to do payroll, then they're trying to do the schedule, and they sit back and they say, is this all worth it?
Yeah,
Because you're juggling too much.
100%.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
let's go back in time a little bit. Let's push the rewind button. Take us back to when you were in those trenches that we just described with Made Bright. What shifted in your mindset or approach that helped you start hiring differently?
Okay, so
Or just hiring at all, I guess?
I started as a solo cleaner. I needed extra money. Everyone pretty much, a lot of people know my story. I was a single mother. My son was little. And I said, I need to make some extra money. So I was like, well, I like to clean. I'll just put an ad up back then. Well, I don't want to say back then, but like back then in one of the states, we work in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. I had put an ad in a thing called a paper, which nobody even does anymore. But at the time, they had like a little like town thing or whatever. So put my ad up and I got my first client. And then I just started one thing that I guess excel at is I've always been a little bit of a hustler, right? So I'm just like, okay, I need to figure out how to do that. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm going to figure it out. And I just go and do it and figure out the details like along the way. So
My
started
wife
taking
describes
jobs.
that as I jump out of the plane and build the parachute on the way down. Yeah,
That is exactly what I do. And I'm not afraid of it. I don't know why. I've just kind of always been like that. I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? That
yeah.
entrepreneur, optimistic, unrealistically optimistic thing, whatever. So I started getting a bunch of jobs and then I started hiring my friends, helpers,
Mhm.
people that weren't real employees, people I'd pay under the table, people that would want their money that day, stuff like that. So I started really scrappy, right? And then I learned early on how to organically market on social media. And that started growing in a way that I never expected.
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh my god, I am cleaning 4 houses, 5 houses a day by myself. I need to hire someone." Right? And I hired someone and I hired them 1099 and that was wrong to do because they were operating as a W-2. That's
Yeah,
another big thing I hear all the time in this industry. Most people that are paying 1099 are not classifying their workers correctly, right?
sure.
That can be a big thing. So I did the same thing. And I would have, Maria would come and I would pick her up. Maria didn't have a car, so I did everything wrong. I picked her up at her house. He came with me. I did most of the work, and that's how I started. And then it started getting bigger, and then I hired Donna from the football field. My son was playing football, and she's like, "I can clean at 1. I work at the grocery store till 12. I'll meet you at 1, and I'll clean from 1 to 4." So I started doing all that stuff. She was under the table, and I did everything wrong. I met everyone in a grocery store parking lot. They jumped in my car, and off we went.
Oh my gosh.
That is
This is a movie. This is literally a
how it
movie to
works.
me. Yeah.
And so I learned how to do everything because I failed at a lot of stuff. I was good at training. I was good at with customer service, with sales, with marketing and stuff like that. But my operations was weak. Right. And I was like, what's the worst that can happen? We'll figure it out along the way. So that's how I did it. I want to say before I had a CRM, I was on ZenMaid. Oh, I had about 25, 30 clients and I was texting them on Sunday night, operating off of Google Calendar. And that's how I ran my first $10,000 a month. It's exactly how I did it.
So what shifted? Like, what was there a breaking moment? You were like, I can't do this anymore.
I
Like
would say,
something's wrong. How bad did it break before you tried to fix it?
well, scheduling was a nightmare because I'd be texting everyone on the weekend, "Can you work can you work Monday? Can you work Tuesday?"
Yeah.
There were to me too many jobs, and then what would happen is that I was always that person that was, "Well, if they can't show up to work, I'll just go do the houses." And so I remember cleaning one day I cleaned 5 houses by myself,
Oh
and
man.
I'm like, I was always in the gym when I was younger. I was a national fitness competitor. I love the gym, and in my mind, I'm like, "I can do this. I'm athletic," right? Until it didn't work anymore. Until, one day I couldn't get out of bed. And then I was like did have employees at that point, but they weren't real organized. They were
Mm.
part-time. They were, "Oh, I can put in a few hours here." So we were just kinda, like, getting by. So I knew I had to change because then I couldn't physically go out and do the work. Right? I mean, my back got better. I wasn't crippled, thank God, but, like, it got better, and then I said, "Okay, I need to learn how to hire. I need how to learn to hire correctly." So I taught myself how to write an ad. They probably weren't good in the beginning. right?
Mm.
I recruited wrong people in the beginning, but it was a start. And what I do, with my coaching is I help people avoid the mistakes that I did
Yeah.
early on along the way. And then we were probably at about probably like 18,000 a month. And then my husband came in, saw what was happening. And he's an operations guy, and he's like, let's add some technology into this. And he's the one that found ZenMaid. He's like, we need this. We need a CRM. And so then I started seeing like, oh my God, you can schedule all these houses on the map and you can do them on the same day. And then I saw my labor rates decreasing. So I saw that there was a benefit to it. So it was sort of like, I'm always the person that has the great ideas, right? I have like the vision to be like, okay, we could do that. We could do this. And then he'll come in and be like, well, we can't do that, but we can do this and we can do that. So, I mean, my husband was, he saw what was happening and he's like, I think we can make this better. I think we can make this more organized. And that's sort of how it happened. But then he was with me along the ride for hiring all the bad employees. So
Hmm.
learning about that. We were learning that together, not everyone's truthful that you hire.
Yeah.
Not everyone can physically do the work. That's another big thing that's actually a reason why we try and only hire people that have cleaning experience because it is so physical and people don't realize how physical the job is. And I think it has a shelf life, to be completely
Mm.
honest. Be a cleaner, I think that there's a shelf life on being a cleaner for sure.
Makes complete sense. Is your
Yeah.
husband still involved in the business now?
So he's still involved in the business. He We launched Bright Power Wash 3 years ago. So he was like, I want to diversify the revenue. I'm like, sure, let's just add something else in the mix. Right. That's like having a whole separate company because you don't, we have different workers, different skill sets, like massive amounts of equipment, trucks, this, that stuff that I don't know that much about. You know what I mean? I stick within my sales and marketing area, but he loves it. He loves the physical aspect of it. Yeah, he's
I
good
love
at it.
that.
The clients
Sounds
like
like
him.
some of your visionary rubbed off on him, maybe, and that's where he
Yeah,
got the idea.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know why he wanted to. Well, it is cleaning. It's just the exterior. So he saw it like, well, we already have this client base, so we can cross sell to, and then we can offer them specials, or So it
Yeah.
seems to work. Yeah.
Love that. Very cool. I ask because my wife and I are very similar. Like we have
Mm,
the visionary brain, which is mine, and then
yeah.
she is the integrator operational brain. So I'm
Interesting.
sure one day we'll maybe have to go out on a double date and just swap stories because I'm sure we could tell
So
stories for a
funny.
long time.
It's like
Yeah.
the opposite. Yep.
So
Yep.
the first part in hiring is obviously attracting the best candidates and finding those right candidates. You've helped, a bunch of business owners build reputable hiring systems, and you did it for yourself too at MadeBright.
Mhm.
What are some non-negotiable elements of a job ad or a job funnel that are actually attracting the right kind of candidates for this industry?
So I think what people miss is the details. So when they write a job ad, their heading may be incorrect. So we primarily use Indeed. It's worked really, really well for us. We've been doing it forever. I've tried Facebook, I've tried other platforms, they haven't worked as well. So we stick with what works. People aren't detailed enough in the ads. So when I work with people that I consult, that I coach, one of the things I do is I teach them how to write the correct ads. People don't put how much the pay is, what the
Mm.
hours are, what the job description is, if they require them to have a car, if they require them to be bilingual, whatever the situation is. People are afraid to. People will just hire anyone. Where I teach people, you have to say, okay, this is a part-time job, this is 20 hours a week. This is Monday through Friday, 8 to 3. You have to be so exact with what you're looking for. And you don't want to hire someone that says, "Oh, I can't get to the office until 9. Is that okay?" That's not the right candidate. So people
Mm.
will just pick anyone to try. I call it trying to, fit a circle into a square, right? So to try and fit some person that isn't the perfect candidate just because you need someone to hire. So you have to really, like, put out into the universe, this is what I'm looking for. Here the job description. Does this fit? So when I interview, if someone comes to the interview, and they don't fit, I say, I'm sorry, it's not the right fit. That like alleviates like half the battle of at least finding people that at least fit the requirements of what you're looking for.
So let's talk about what does make a right fit. Is this something that would be more unique to every single cleaning company, or are there some evergreen variables to look for across this industry? Some green flags, so to speak, obviously, or maybe some red flags too. Yeah.
Let's do green flags and red flags. So green flags for me, some type of cleaning experience, so they understand what it means. So we do primarily residential. We do 80% residential, 20% commercial, and then power washing is obviously separate. So I would say green flags would be can do the hours, has a reliable car. We learned early on the key to freedom
Mm.
is that they have a car, right? They can drive. You don't want to pick anyone up like I did, right?
No
So
more meeting in grocery store parking
you don't want
lots.
me in
Yeah.
the that's pretty good though, right? That's pretty scrappy story. I'm in the grocery
Yeah.
store, Stop and Shop, which is a Massachusetts franchise store. Here we are. So green flags, they have to be able to do the hours, have a car, have cleaning experience. I require them to be bilingual because I get so much feedback from my clients that they want to be able to communicate in the house. That's like a big thing
Yeah.
across the
Yep.
board, right? So that's in there, which usually isn't an issue. And a great attitude. And that sometimes is hard to find because a lot of people are
Mm.
really good interviewing, but then when you get them into your culture, sometimes you can see some negativity, right? That you
Sure.
can try
Yeah.
and fix. You have to try and fix that because that negativity and toxicity just breeds right in the
Yeah.
whole, in the whole company culture or whatever. So you do your best. Sometimes you're going to have to let people go that are too toxic. And I teach people to let toxic people go as soon as you can. Because it's like that famous analogy, you have a couple of strawberries, right? And one has a little
Mm.
hold on it, right? And it's sitting next to the good one. And then the mold sometimes can jump over to the strawberry and infect the other one. You're not gonna get it right all the time with hiring. You're dealing with people and personalities and stuff like that, but you have to do your best to try and personality match. So again, going back to when I interview, we do Zoom interviews, we do in-person interviews, we do a couple. And I look to see, okay, will this person get along with, my top cleaners, with Sam, with
Yeah.
Liz, Stephanie, or whatever. And I use my instinct too, right? If somebody shows up to an interview in a bathrobe, like that happened before, I do not hire them,
Mm.
right? Because if they're showing up like that, what are they going to show up to work like?
Yep.
Um,
So good.
yeah.
That strawberry analogy, I love it because it mold spreads, right?
Yes.
If there is a one characteristic of mold, it spreads, and it's so true how quickly that can happen within an organization too.
Yeah.
Especially in the cleaning industry where if you have like a duo cleaner set up, they're by themselves a lot
Yeah.
all day, right?
Oh, yeah.
And like they have the opportunity to talk. They have the
Mhm.
opportunity to pull out all the drums, and there's that opportunity there compared to if they were in an office with everybody, right?
Yeah.
But it
Correct.
doesn't take much for that toxicity to spread.
No.
Speaking of toxic, let's just talk about like the mindset and leadership that comes with the hiring. I think you say all the time that mindset is a make or break factor in hiring.
Yeah.
What are some of the limiting beliefs you see owners that are holding that are sabotaging their ability to build a strong team?
They don't have the confidence, right? In the beginning, you don't have the confidence to manage people. You feel like an imposter. A lot of
Mm.
people feel like they don't know how to train, you know. And again, like I was always that type of person that was scrappy. I'm like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to train. I'll figure out how to hire, whatever. So
Yeah.
the people get nervous because they get nervous because a lot of times starting out, they don't have all their ducks in a row. They don't have all their SOPs all their documents, all their training materials, and so they look a little on the amateur side, but that's where everybody starts. You have to start somewhere. And I tell people that the more professional you look, the more you have a chance of retaining that person. Like, that's like a big thing. So in the beginning, when I was meeting everyone in the grocery store parking lot, I wasn't getting real employees because it didn't look like a real company,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
You attract what you put out, right? Um,
correct.
I think, and there is a reality of it too. I mean, you gotta fake it till you make it a little
You
bit,
do.
right? That's the
You
reality. In
do.
perfect world, you would never would want to think you have to do that, but that's kind of a part of it, right?
Yeah.
Is having that outwardly show that you are this legitimate company, be a place that you would want to work at yourself. You're not going to be that all at first,
No.
right? When you start making these hiring decisions. So there's a little bit of fake it till you make it that's got to
Yeah.
happen, which is a hard thing because then you don't feel genuine. And but how do you move past that? I guess.
So a lot of people feel that everything has to be perfect before they make a move. Or everything has to be perfect before I hire. Or everything has to be this. I have to have all of my documents and this and that. I didn't have any of that. Like, I made that as I went along, and I just figured it out. But you have to not be afraid to make mistakes. Like, you just have to be like, you know what? I made a mistake. It's one step closer to being a success. Like, people are so afraid of failure. They're so afraid to make the wrong move. And then they paralyze themselves. You know that phrase, analysis paralysis? Like,
Yeah.
they overthink things. Women owners are famous for overthinking everything, and then they do nothing. Right? And then nothing gets done. So you're better off being okay with, all right, I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to learn how to hire. I'm going to throw an ad out. I want to see what happens. You have to kind of like get used to being comfortable in that uncertainty. And then you just power through it. What's the worst? I always say, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work. You hire somebody bad. Okay, we'll just let them go and keep going and learn as we go, you know?
Yeah. I love the phrase perfection is the enemy of progress.
Totally. Yeah.
Because I think you're right. I think there's so many times we wait for all the cards to be perfect before we show our hand, right? But the reality, they are never going to be perfect because this is a very people centric industry and people are not perfect. So you can't have the expectations of your company, which is made up of people, to be perfect because people are never going to be perfect.
Negative. You're
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
So how are you help with your coaching or just the conversations you have? How do you help owners step into that? Because it is a challenge, right? It is a challenge. And maybe this is to do with like their hiring at first, or maybe this is just issues in general. I think confidence is a big thing.
Yeah.
We could do a whole season of this podcast probably on like just confidence of business owners. And how do you build that confidence in your coaching clients? How do you let them step into what they could be as a business owner?
So I set gentle expectations for them. And I say that because everybody kind of jokes. They're like, oh, the girl from Boston, she's a little tough. I mean, I'm tough to a point because I want people to get results, right? So I
Yeah.
expect a little bit. So if someone decides, "Hey, I wanna, work with me," sort of like a no BS approach. I'm just like, "Okay, here's, my program is a whole course. It's a 6-month course, a drop them on, which is the signature. It's 6 months, it's calls every week. There's coursework, there's homework, there's accountability, stuff like that. So I push people to do things even when they're uncomfortable. And I think that's what it is. But then I provide support, whereas people can message me like on DM or whatever and be like, I did this and I think it worked, but then this person, I'm not sure. What do you think of this? So I really kind of try and help them like in the moment of what's going on. And I just nudge them. I nudge them in like a good, nice, not too aggressive. I don't know. I guess you'd probably have to ask someone that has worked with me. I push people to get results, but not to the point where it makes them wanna cry. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
I just
I
soft
mean, but also
approach.
sometimes crying is okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to cry, because that one of my mentors, he has an expression, your breakthrough is on the other side of embarrassment.
Oh,
And like
100.
sometimes you get to that moment where you're embarrassed,
Yeah.
but okay, you're embarrassed, you got called out, now move past it. There's your breakthrough, right? And like, hey, and sometimes during that embarrassment, we cry, right? And that's just a natural human response. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I think we all have potential, and I think as a job of any good coach is to help expose that potential to our clients, right? And sometimes some people catch on quicker, some people need more tough love
I
sometimes.
tell people I to whatever situation happens, I tell them, "All you have is 24 hours, then you gotta move on." So for 24 hours, you get to sulk, you get to cry, you get to throw a temper tantrum, you get to eat a whole cake, whatever you need to do, you know, but after 24 hours, you have to move on, and I think the thing that with people that are brand new and they're good cleaners, they're making money, now they need to learn how to be a boss, a CEO, that's a
Yeah.
totally different skill set. I give them 24 hours because I say to them, "You're gonna have to put out so many fires and make so many decisions fast that you need to learn to speed up the process. You need to okay, you're gonna go over this. This person didn't work out, you have to fire them. Okay, fire on a Monday, Tuesday you're hiring someone else." They need to be able to move fast. So that's why I only give them 24 hours and then I push them like over the hump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, if you eat that whole cake though, you're gonna be feeling that for more than 24 hours, I think. I know
I'm just
one thing
yeah.
we've talked about in this season that helps with the hiring process, which we actually have done an entire season of this podcast on this topic too, but how building a culture that attracts the right talent. I think one of the things you coach on is how to create a business that people really want to work for.
Mm.
In your experience, how can business owners in this industry use values, vision, or even vulnerability to attract and retain better people?
That is I think that the difference in my business was when I learned how to build a company culture that I started retaining way more people. So you have to kind of put the shoe on the other foot. And you have to say, okay, why would I want to go and work for that company? So that starts out in the world, in your marketing, in your branding, and when we do our social media content, I we post pictures of my staff cleaning,
Yeah.
having a good time, right? Everyone's in a uniform, we get pretty shirts and stuff like that. So it starts there because the first thing that someone is going to do when they hit apply is they're going to Google Made Bright and they're going to see who is Made Bright. Then they're going to go to the website, go to the Facebook, right? And all this stuff, all your videos, everything you do is all going to come up. So it actually starts there. And when people go to hire, they don't actually realize that they're selling people the job,
Mhm.
right? So you have to put your best foot forward. You have to say, this is why you want to come work for Made Bright. Like in my ad, it says, why work for Made Bright? And then I list everything in my hiring ad. Here's why you want to come work for us. So those people that are applying for jobs, they're applying for 10 other jobs. So you're actually you need to learn how to recruit the right people and you start by the more professional your company looks out in the world, like I said with the branding and social media, the better chance you have of getting better people. For one, nobody thinks of that in the cleaning industry when they're brand new. They just want bodies.
Mm.
Right? So that's first, and then now they come to the we have an office. I'm a huge believer if you're in a suburban area and can pull it off, get an office because that's where all your staff, they meet in the morning, they have coffee, they get to know each other, they bond. All of my staff, they hang out after work, they go to the beach, their kids hang out, stuff like that, right? That took a while. That took a
Mhm.
while for me to figure out, but I've had people with me, God, I'm knocking on wood here, 7 years, 8 years, and that didn't happen overnight. That took a while for me to figure that out, but you have to put a lot of time into your company. Like we have a bonus structure where they can earn more money when they hit certain parameters. Um, my staff, they get a lot of tips. They 60 to 70% of our clients tip, but that is like something that we work on like day in, day out, having a beach party, having a Christmas party, having bonuses, like all those things you need to keep not just a cleaning business, but like any business together. Cleaning industry has one of the highest retention rates. We all know that. Because people they feel undervalued, they feel underappreciated. This isn't, the highest six-figure job. So they're not motivated by money. They're motivated by liking to come to work. So I always tell everyone they need to like to clean, like their teammates, and like their bosses. So you got to be a good boss too. So it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Mm,
Culture is this mysterious thing, right? Then I think it's definitely can be used in the attracting the right talent, but then probably where it shows its head the most is keeping that talent and retaining the right people.
mhm.
I think you just mentioned a few things, but can you give some examples of like what Made Bright does culturally that you think helps keep the people there and like keeping the right people there?
I think this the CEO, the boss, the founder, whatever you want to call them, needs to have a good, cheery, and chipper attitude no matter what kind of day they're having. So I could be having a crappy morning, right? But they would never know that that's going on. And as soon as I walk in that door, I have a completely different face. I'm like, hey, and I do like every single morning, we do like a roll call. I go over all of the houses with all of my teams so they know if anything's new. Like they had a new one of my teams had a new one today. We go over anything. Okay, here's what's different, blah, 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 blah. So I engage with them in the morning. If there's something going on emotionally with one of my teammates and I can sense it, I pull him in the office and I do the female thing, right? So my husband is in the office with me, but he is not empathetic like a female is, right?
Mhm.
So we have an issue going on, a breakup, a kid problem, whatever, that problem comes to me. And I say, "What's going on? I can tell you're not right." And then I let them know that I care about them as a human being, not just, "Hey, you have 3 houses today, have a nice day." Right? So you have to be empathetic because they're humans, they're going out, they're cleaning your clients' homes, they're doing a physical job, but if they're having a bad day, like, you have to recognize that. Like, they wanna be recognized, they wanna be heard. If something's going on that's, like, bad in someone's life, I'll be like, "Do you need the day off? Do you need tomorrow off? What can I do to make your life easier?" Like, they appreciate that so much more than you think. So much more than a $2 raise.
Yeah.
Alright.
I think you humanize them, right? You remember that they're not just an employee number.
Mhm.
They're a human that has human problems. I mean, we've
Yeah, we all
still
do.
that word. This is the people puzzle, this conversation, right? Like figuring out that people puzzle. It's not the, android puzzle. These are human beings we're talking about. These aren't robots. I think that's huge.
Totally. Yep.
Let's talk about screening. And we've talked a little bit about this, but just how to be hiring smarter. Let's say candidates are flowing in, your job ad is doing well, your job funnel is doing its job. What's your process or maybe your recommended process for filtering quickly but effectively at the same time?
Okay, so, like I said, we use Indeed. Um, there's some new additions on Indeed where you can ask questions and things like that. And it's automated now. So they're obviously like every other company in the world, everything is turning into automation. So they're automating something. So I have a pre-written message, that I send out and I say, thank you for applying for the position at Made Bright. We're looking through applicants. We'll reach out, blah, blah, blah. Right. So then they see it. Some people answer it, which is good. I require a resume. The first thing I do is I look at the resume to see, number one, if they have cleaning, number two, how long they've stayed at prior jobs, because that's super
Mm.
important to me. If they're a job hopper, I don't even, they get
What's an acceptable amount of time at a job for you where that the red flag would start waving?
six,
6 months?
6 months, 8 months, anything below that, I don't even touch. Then I look where they're located because I have found in my experience that if they're more than 30 minutes away from the office, it's not gonna work, it's too far of a commute.
Mhm.
That's usually so that's first, and then I go through there's a check mark, there's a question mark, there's an X, and I go through the whole list with those things, and then I check everyone off, and then I go back, and then I do Zoom interviews first. I have found that 2 interviews work. 1 interview, sometimes you so how do I say this without sounding not nice? Um, you have to make them work for it. Does that make sense? The applicant, you can't just give the job away to anyone, right? So first is Zoom. I like to see them. I like to get a read on them. My first interview with them is usually, here are the details. Here are the hours. Here's what's required, blah, 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 blah. And then I say, tell me about yourself. Are you working now? Tell me about your cleaning experience. And I go over all those details. I go over the pay. I go over all that stuff. And I say, does that work for you? Because I don't want to waste time. If somebody needs $25 an hour and, we're paying 17, 18 a start, the conversation's over.
Mhm.
Right? I don't need to go any further. So the first one is really like, it's almost like a qualifying interview, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, and then second interview I like to do in person. We get more detailed with the questions. They get to see how, what's the commute like in the morning. So we do the interviews in the morning, like around the time that they become in the office anyways, right? So they say, "Oh, the commute's great, whatever." I look at how they're dressed. If someone comes in slippers, like that's happened before, they don't get the job, right? So I look at, and that's when I can tell if somebody has integrity. So if I was going for a job, I would be dressed up. My hair would be done. I wouldn't be coming to a job in slippers. Hell no.
Yeah.
Or anything like, or a hooded sweatshirt. It's just not happening, right? Even though this is cleaning, these people are representing my company.
For
So,
sure.
going into homes and stuff like that, looking, not well dressed isn't gonna work. Um
Representing your company, but like, yeah, like going into homes that are the most like private, safe
Mhm.
spaces of your
Yeah,
clients.
yeah.
You don't want somebody looking sketchy, like
Yeah.
walking into your home to clean it. Yeah.
Mhm. No, 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 they have to wear their shirts, sweatshirts off, hoodies off, you know what I mean? They're not cleaning in a hoodie with the hood it's not happening.
Yeah.
S scare everyone, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Commercial's a little different. Commercial's done, after hours for the most part, after 5, so,
Mhm.
that may not be as bad. Yes, they still have to wear the shirts, but if they have a sweatshirt on, like, nobody's gonna care.
Yeah.
It's different. That's how I start like that, and then after that, we do a 3-day working interview. So we don't put anyone on payroll until after those 3 days are over. So we just kind of say, so now about the second interview, now we say, now we're gonna do a 3-day working interview. They still don't technically know they have the job. So for psychological reasons, they're gonna be on their best behavior, right? And then that you say to yourself, okay, I really want this job now. It's just like a psychological thing. So they go through the 3 days, they do great. They go out with, one of my team trainers. I have a few of them, and my team trainer assesses if they're gonna make it or not, right? We can tell. If they just
Yeah.
ball in the bathroom the first or second day, we know it's like it's not gonna work. Like we've learned how to cut the cord quick, right?
Yeah.
And so let's say someone doesn't work out, we say, "No hard feelings, we'll write you a paycheck, here it is," or someone may not like it, right?
Yeah.
That's fine, okay. So, we do that 3-day working interview, and then they say, "I love it. I wanna work here." Then we do the onboarding into payroll. We use Gusto, we, do all that stuff. So, our process is a little bit longer, but I find that people don't they used to quit the first week, but they don't quit the first week anymore. You know what I mean? So, our
Yeah.
retention the better our processes got with pre-onboarding, onboarding, interviewing, like, all that stuff, the better they got. Now, I think they usually say if you wanna have 1 employee, hire 2, which sometimes is
Mhm.
correct, but now I find that we'll hire 2 and they both wanna stay. So I'm like, "Oh." So I have to go and get some more
A
jobs,
nod to your culture.
right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that in the beginning. It took time to create all these systems, right? Everyone talks about systems and stuff like that. These are all the systems that it took time for me to fail at to get better. So now I teach people, the people that I coach, how to skip the mess that I already went through, and I say, do this. This we have found that this has worked best. And they're getting a lot better results before when they were like, fumbling around in the dark.
100%. I'm curious too, because we're talking a lot about just technicians and cleaning techs and things like that. I'm curious, are there certain green flags that you could look for to like really see like, oh, this person's going to be an A player? Like this person is not just going to be a technician that'll be consistent and do the job well. Like, how do you spot someone this person is going to like help change the company for the better?
I think that when they come in on the first day, right, and I have an onboarding with paperwork and training manuals and do's and don'ts and stuff like that. So I go through all of that. They take all that with when they ask questions, right? So when they ask questions about how to pack a caddy, what chemicals do you use, things like that, or they just ask questions in general. And then when they're put with a team leader, they go over and they say, "How can I help?" That's the as soon as I see that, I'm like, "Okay, that one is gonna be a good one." When they sit on their butt in the chair and watch the team leader pack her caddy by herself, I'm like, "This person may not make it." That's how I look at it. It's just actions, really. Not really,
Initiative is what that's
Yeah,
it's like.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
I love that. Initiative is a core value in our company, and I think you're so right. It's people that take like spoken initiative, like
Mhm.
where you don't have to ask them to do something. They're show, but also like I liked what you were saying by asking questions. Like they're
Yeah.
curious,
Yeah.
right? Like from the get go, they're curious about how can I make an impact here? How do I be the best person I can be here?
Totally.
Those
Yeah.
are all really great green flags. I love that. Let's talk about like the future of hiring a little bit in the cleaning world. I think looking ahead like 3 to 5 years, even less than that, maybe because things are moving so quickly these days. But what shifts do you see coming and how cleaning businesses will need to hire and recruit in the
Oh,
future?
that's a good question. I actually saw something I actually didn't like yesterday. I don't know if I can talk about that. I saw a cleaning
Sure.
robot. I saw a cleaning robot that you could buy for $25,000 that cleans commercial spaces, and it scared me to death.
Oh my god.
I was like, "How close are we to that?" You know what I mean?
Closer and closer every day, I think.
I don't know, I don't know. I started going down a rabbit trail last night right when I see that, and then it says, I don't know by what year, maybe like 2029 or something, or 2030, Amazon was gonna replace 80% of their human workforce. Did you see that? With robots, and I'm like, "Oh my god." And I'm like, "Is that a real thing or is that gonna be wonky?" You know what I mean?
Star Wars is what it sounds
20
like.
years, is it 20 years out from us? I mean, there's a lot of variables, so I don't know. I don't know what I can say about that. That's the latest thing on my mind because I saw it last night. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that on here, but that's what I did see.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's just so tough. I've heard that, and I'm glad you said it as well. Like I've heard that in the commercial space,
Yeah,
because everybody like commercial cleaning is a much different process than like the heart that can go behind like a residential cleaning.
right.
Um, that I think the robotics that potentially might be there for certain tasks in a commercial cleaning,
Yeah.
it's gonna take a long time for those to translate over to the residential world.
I
But
don't
outside
think
of
it will.
robots, are there trends or any sort of technology that or platforms or practices that you're excited about in the future in the cleaning world?
I think what I see as exciting because it makes our jobs easier is the AI that's coming in, like, the AI in all the CRMs. Rewrite this paragraph, attach this, do that, answer the client. Like that stuff I think is healthy AI, right? I think there's healthy AI and I think there's unhealthy AI. When AI replaces jobs, I think that's pretty scary in any sector and like not just the cleaning or whatever. But I think the AI can be helpful. I know everyone's on the ChatGPT train, which can be good, can also be bad at the
Sure.
same time, right? It can be both because owners just run the risk of sounding and looking like everyone else when they
Yep.
when they use too much AI when they don't know who their brand is and stuff like that. That can be good. That can be bad. What else do I see? Um, I mean, there's a ton of competition right now, so I think owners really need to get serious with their branding and, how they stand out.
Mm.
Because there's solo cleaners everywhere now because the cleaning industry is exploding. And by next year, I think the stats are 80% of two-parent households will have a cleaning company in their house for residential.
Jeez,
That's big.
it's huge.
That's huge. Yeah. So those are some of the things I think that are helpful in the industry, but then people can't depend on AI too much because it could be detrimental.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the last thing I have for you today, I've been ending episodes with this recently and I really like it. I'm calling it the elevator speech. You've got 60 seconds to speak directly to a cleaning business owner who's drowning in hiring drama. They are spinning the wheel of hiring hell. What do you say to them? You got 60 seconds with them.
Nothing put me on the spot. Okay.
Yeah,
Take a breath. Everything's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. You have to look at, do you have the right systems, the right processes, your SOPs in place? You have the right structure to hire. How many clients do you have? Are you ready to hire? Do you have a training system in place so when you bring them on, you're able to provide enough hours and things like that? So you want to have to really get that defined. How many hours that you are hiring for, finding that perfect person that comes, into your business and being able to train them, and then don't stress really. Yeah,
I love it. Yeah. Perfection is the enemy of progress. I think
it
we've
is.
said that on the show before and so true. Well, Cheryl, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. It's been really great to meet you and learn more about your view into the cleaning world, specifically in this hiring, recruiting lane that we talked about. I think you were both, talk about mindset shifts and tactical takeaways for everybody to go home with. So I appreciate it. For anyone who's listening who wants to plug into more about the Sisters Who Scale or learn more about your approach, where should they go?
Two places. They can go to the website, sisterswhoscale.com, and then I have a Facebook group, Sisters Who Scale, that you can find me on as well.
I love it. Very cool. And also, anybody that's watching or listening to this episode, if you found this helpful, share it with a cleaning business owner that you know. If there's one thing I know about this industry, it is one of the most tight knit industries I've ever been a part of. So you probably know you have like a group chat you could put this link into real quick and provide value to your friends in the industry as well. Because we do know here is the truth with the right mindset, systems, and leadership, hiring stops being the problem and starts being the path to real freedom. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.